Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen paves the road for crypto regulation. The thermometer drops for Celsius. And the merge to ETH 2.0 takes a bit longer than expected. My name is Ben. This is your nightly crypto news wrap up. Let's get it.
Our regulatory frameworks should be designed to support responsible innovation while managing risks, and especially those that could disrupt the financial system and the economy. As banks and other traditional financial firms become more involved in digital asset markets, regulatory frameworks will need to appropriately reflect the risks of these new activities. And new types of intermediaries, such as digital asset exchanges and other digital native intermediaries, these should be subject to appropriate forms of oversight. In other words, whenever possible, regulation should be tech neutral. For example, consumers, investors, and businesses should be protected from fraud and from misleading statements, regardless of whether assets are stored on a balance sheet or they're stored on a distributed ledger. Similarly, firms that hold customer assets, they should be required to ensure those assets aren't lost, stolen, or used without the customer's permission.
For the past several years, Janet Felon Yellen has received more than her fair share of flack from the talking heads of the crypto industry, myself definitely included. She got roasted time and time again because she was the living embodiment of everything we don't want to see happen in this space. The relationship between Yellen and crypto has been a rocky one, to say the least. In October of 2018, she flat out said, "I will just say outright, I am not a fan." Although she's still not exactly in my MySpace top 8, it's clear that Yellen has lightened up on crypto now that she knows it's here to stay. Time breeds familiarity, and familiarity breeds understanding. In her recent speech at the American University in Washington, D.C., I was surprised to hear her say that decentralization is actually a strength of the blockchain industry. Never thought I'd hear her say that in a million years, also possibly her age. So the main points that she drove home are that regulation should be tech neutral. A US CBDC will most likely take years to develop. The priority of crypto regulation should be protecting the users from scams and fraudulent activity. In a recent tweet, Yellen stated, "Growth in digital services has opened a new world of possibilities and risks, and policy around digital assets must evolve to meet these new opportunities." It's okay to be a little bit optimistic when she says things like that, but I'm still wary about how far these regulation shenanigans will go when I see stories like this about Celsius. Celsius, if you didn't know, pays rewards in the form of crypto to your average investor just for holding your crypto with them instead of their competitors. In order to comply with crypto regulations, Celsius will no longer pay these rewards out unless you're an accredited US investor. You'll still receive rewards if you already have your assets on Celsius, but you will not receive rewards for anything you buy after April 15th. If you're familiar with BlockFi, the story probably doesn't come as much of a surprise. And at least this didn't cost Celsius $100 million. My problem with this is that it only affects US investors, and the rest of the world goes on without us. They're taking away opportunities for the average Joe to earn passive income, not to mention ruining Celsius' business model. The reason this is happening is because these high-yield opportunities, like those offered on BlockFi and Celsius, are a threat to the legacy system. It makes sense. Why would anybody use banks or buy bonds when you can get 7 to 10% on stablecoins? Once again, classic case of watch what they do, not what they say. Yellen gives an optimistic speech saying policies around digital assets must evolve to meet these new opportunities. Meanwhile, Celsius is getting kneecapped before the groundwork is even established. It's obvious that Dirty Gary Gensler is making the rules up as they go along while he gets embarrassed by Ripple. Now let's throw it to Frankie Candles for a market watch.
Thank you, Ben. All right, guys, let's jump in and do a little market watch here. We got Bitcoin coming in at $41,099, up about 2.5% on the day. We have Ethereum coming in at $31.13, up about 2.8% for the day. Let's go ahead and check out some of the other pumpers. Compound up 16% on the day, 11% on the week. Not looking too bad. ApeCoin back up 14, almost 15% for the day. And then we got Bitcoin Cash up about 12% on the day. Guys, we did get a little relief pump today. That blood diamond on the weekly actually disappeared, so that is somewhat of a good sign. We have the 1, 2, and 3 hour charts showing money flow looking across into the green, so that is a good sign. But the higher time frames still not looking that good, so keep that in mind. If you want to follow me, it's Frankie Candles on YouTube and Frankie_Candles on all socials. Back to the news.
Thanks, Frank. In other news, as anticipation builds for the merge to Ethereum 2.0, unfortunately the timeline has been pushed back to Q3 this year. The original hope was that the merge would take place in June, but this process is not as simple as downloading Minecraft on your laptop. ETH developer Tim Biko recently tweeted, "It won't be June, but likely a few months after. No firm date yet, but we're definitely in the final chapter of POW on Ethereum." I'm sure the miners are more than okay with having a couple extra months to profit on some gas fees, but Biko strongly suggests to not invest in more mining equipment at this point. Although this is a small hiccup for Ethereum, it's nothing to worry about in the long haul. Greatness requires patience. Comment below with your Ethereum price predictions. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That's all I got. Be blessed. BitBoy out.